I'd like to call the May 19th meeting of the Riverton City Council Finance Committee to order. The chair would entertain a motion on the consideration of claims.
Your Honor, I would like to make a request for payment on bills totaling $491,527.22 for payroll and liabilities, and for May 1st in the amount of $212,094.48 for manual checks, in the amount of $530.36 for a total of $704,152.06.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Did either of you have any questions on the bills?
I don't, Your Honor.
No.
I think you do, though.
Yeah, the only one that I saw was there was, I believe it was service plumbing, that there were 3 charges for the same thing. I was making sure that those were supposed to be 3. It was service plumbing and heating, $950.09 is page 10 of 23 on the iPad. Page 9 of 14 on the actual pages. Right at the bottom. I'm assuming it was 3. It was replacement of water heaters. Was it 3 separate water heaters?
Your Honor, it's just split between multiple different accounts.
Oh, okay, so you're splitting it up. I got it. Okay. I always miss that when you guys do it. Quite confusing. All right, that was my big hairy question of the evening. So I guess all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Is there any other business for us this evening?
No, Your Honor.
All right, meeting
I'll
adjourned.
call the May 19th, 2015 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Would Councilmember Gibbon please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then if we could remain standing, I'll offer an invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are grateful that we have the opportunity to serve the citizens of Riverton, and pray that we'll have Thy Spirit to guide and direct our work, that we might understand the needs of the people that live in our community, and that we might be able to manage the resources of the city well. Receptive to comments and concerns that are expressed, and that we might be thoughtful in our consideration of ordinances that we work on and the measures that we take tonight. We ask for Thy counsel and assistance in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would the City Secretary please conduct the roll call? Here.
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 Here. Here.
Here.
And I am present. Declare that we have a quorum. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda with the addition of the mayor's proclamation for National Public Works Week.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Larson and seconded by Councilmember Martinez. Any discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Mayor votes aye. Communications from the floor. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda will be given an opportunity to speak later on. I would appreciate those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourselves for the record. Please speak into the microphone so that those watching on television can hear you, and the tape recorder can pick it up as well. So, you want to talk to us tonight? No, you go ahead. You get up there and do it. Come on, I think you're the first guy here. Yep. Oh, could we get that hand mic? Would that work? Let's do that. We've got a hand mic here. You could sit down and use that hand mic. Okay? Just it is not. I'm not hearing him.
No, it's not.
Oh, we could go ahead and try that, and or maybe can you, Kyle? Could we just roll the podium over to him? Would that work, or is it nailed down?
To do this. Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is James Burrows. I've lived in Riverton for about 20 years off and on. And I've been nominated to be the spokesperson for about 60 Riverton citizens that have gotten together, and a couple of us will be visiting the county commissioners, Governor Meade, and anybody that has anything to do with Riverton streets. The 60 of us, we averaged in the last 2 years over $400 a piece in repairs because of these damn holes in the streets. I'm embarrassed to have tourists come through Riverton and see these streets. Every manhole cover you hit does damage unless you creep through it. What we're going to be trying to decide after we visit everybody is, who do we sue? Do we sue Riverton? Do we sue the county? Somebody's got to do something about these streets, and I know the answer that all of you would give me. We don't have the money, honey. I'm upset, and I'm trying to control it. I can't afford $400 a year. And Medicare won't pay for my damage. But something's got to be done about these streets. I know we don't have anything to do with Main and Federal Boulevard, but you look at that concrete that they poured out there that was supposed to last forever, it's already got holes in it. You go down the hill there and you'll find them. I have broken springs.
I have broken tires. I have broken wheels because I didn't catch one of the holes in time. I hit one that I lost control of the steering wheel and went sideways. That's how big. This was a hole. And I don't understand. I know the answer is we don't have the money. Fine, raise the 1% to 2%. I'll pay my share. And I know that 60 people will pay their share because they're tired of maintenance. I don't know if any of you own garages or not, but you're getting rich if you do. All because of the roads. And I don't understand. Patchwork doesn't do anything and doesn't last very long. And you all know that, even in spite of this new machine that you guys are buying, that we're buying. And I don't understand. And I know none of this probably makes sense to any of you, but I expect by the end of the year, there will be more than 60. And we haven't gotten an attorney yet, but we will before the end of the year. And like I said, what we're trying to decide is who to sue to make you do something. I'm tired of spending money because of Riverton streets. And like I said, I'm embarrassed for the tourists. They must have some stories to go when they go home to tell, hey, don't drive on those streets in Riverton. Go another way to get to Jackson. I don't know what else to say.
Well, Mr. Burgess, thank you. Maybe through our Fix Our Roads.
I'm okay.
Maybe, Mr. Butterfield, through our Fix Our Roads committee, we could make some contact with these folks and actually get maybe there's something that committee is missing from the standpoint of priority roads to take a look at. Because that's I guess, if we had more involvement with them, maybe they would understand what's going on. So, can we get a phone number for you that we could contact?
885.
Okay.
And I've talked to an attorney a couple of times over the last few years about making you guys pay for my damage on my truck. I mean, I shouldn't have to pay for it. You guys should have to pay for it. And I don't know if anybody's taken you to court yet about damages, but it's gonna happen. And I appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen, listening to me.
You bet.
And I don't know, you might see me again sometime.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Burgess, for coming in.
Call you tomorrow morning. Call tomorrow morning.
Somebody doesn't come alive.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Don't keep
Well, we'll see if we can help you out to your truck, okay? We'll help you get out to your truck, all right? I say, when you're ready to leave, we'll help you get out to your truck. Okay? All right.
Well, again, my name's Pastor Bill Trollinger, and I got a couple things I want to talk about tonight. We got them perfectly serviceable bike paths running down Riverview and 8th Street. And if I dive my 350 off onto one of them bike paths to get around some bicycler riding down the middle of the road, the city cops are going to pull me over and give me a ticket. Isn't that right, Chief? You know, I think there ought to be a city ordinance. If there's a perfectly good bike path, them bicyclers and them pedestrians ought to have to use it. Instead of riding down, especially on 8th Street, that thing's so narrow. I about smoked a girl in a backhoe a couple of years ago. She was headed north on the west side of the street, and I was trying to go south. I had to stop and let traffic go by me so I could swing out and go around her, and there's a bike path right there. And it just drives me nuts every time I pull up behind some guy on a bicycle doing 5 miles an hour and I'm trying to get somewhere. So anyway, I think that would make a pretty good city ordinance. I want to talk about this fighting by arrangement ordinance that was brought up. I got to clarify a thing or two. Y'all made it sound after I made my comments 2 weeks ago that Riverton has to pass this to be in compliance with federal law, that federal law isn't enforceable in Riverton without this ordinance. I don't think that's correct, because I know everybody in Riverton still paying income tax, and I don't know of a city ordinance that says I have to. I think this is all being spurred on by Tim Lukenhoff, strictly in the interest of money. You know, some wise men a couple hundred years ago wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Most people don't know the original draft of that document read life, liberty, and justly acquired property. For the longest time, I thought they made a mistake in changing it to the pursuit of happiness. But I've changed my mind. I think they were wise. Not everybody's pursuit of happiness involves owning property. There's a lot of people that choose not to. And that is their right. You know, Tim Lukenhoff wants to stop these fights simply because he doesn't want boxing's revenues to take another hit like they did with MMA. And that's all it's about. Now, he did find some local tyrants that are willing accomplices in that. And when I say tyrants, see, most men are not prepared to live as free men. Most men inwardly are tyrants. See, the idea of live and let live has gone astray in our country. And now it's, I'm going to live as I want to, and I'm going to force you to live the way I want you to, too. You know, I've said this in the past. I despise demolition derbies. I think they're noisy. I think they're a waste of perfectly good time, money, and usable, serviceable used cars. Difference between me and a tyrant is I would not support, nor would I support a politician that would try to ban demolition derbies. Because demolition derbies, I realize they generate a lot of revenue. But that is some people's pursuit of happiness. And they're allowed to do that. These kids that want to get in these fights, that's their pursuit of happiness. And I don't think we need a city ordinance that if these events become popular and grow, they will have a governing body. And another thing I've been apprised of here just today, there is a federal lawsuit against Tim Lukenhoff for getting involved in local politics, specifically trying to implement the enforcement of the Muhammad Ali Act in events that was not designed to cover. The Muhammad Ali Act strictly covers professional boxing. According to the minutes of their annual meeting in 2013, they have admitted, the Association of Boxing Commissions has admitted that bare knuckle fighting is not boxing. You know, I think we ought to let these folks, if Mr. Williams and Miss Robinson was doing anything illegal, I think the FBI would have walked in there and arrested them and hauled them out and hauled them to jail, and they'd be sitting in Fremont County Detention Center. I think the federal government's perfectly capable of enforcing laws that are broken without the help of the city council. And that's my 2 bits on that. I think y'all are being hoodwinked by Tim Lukenhoff and some people that just don't like the idea of bare knuckle fighting, because that's not their pursuit of happiness. Their pursuit of happiness is to stop it. I think they ought to be allowed to fight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Here's that federal lawsuit if anybody wants to look at it.
That would be great. Thank you. Thank you.
Might be a good idea to wait and see how that turns out before you go jumping the gun. If Tim Lukenhoff is doing something illegal in violation of somebody's rights and you're passing an ordinance based on his word, kind of scary.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else want to talk to the city council on something that's not on our agenda? Okay. That brings us to the point of consent. Would the city secretary please read the consent agenda by title only?
Your Honor.
Are there items requiring further discussion?
Your Honor, it's the recommendation of the Finance Committee for claims to be paid in the amount of $491,527.22, payroll and liabilities for May 1st, 2015 in the amount of $212,094.48, and manual checks in the amount of $530.36 for a total of $704,152.06.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, I would abstain from the Bailey Enterprises and Wex part of the city.
Any other discussion or amendments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Mayor votes aye. This proclamation is the next item of business. It says, whereas public works are important to the health, safety, and well-being of Wyoming citizens, and whereas these services can only be provided through dedicated public works professionals, including government and private sector employees who plan, design, build, operate, and maintain the transportation, parks, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, buildings, and facilities essential for service, and whereas everyone should understand the role of public works, and whereas 2015 marks the 55th National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now therefore, I, John Lars Baker, Mayor of the City of Riverton, do hereby proclaim May 17th through the 23rd, 2015 as Public Works Week in the City of Riverton in recognition of the contribution of Public Works employees and the service they provide. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the executive seal of the City of Riverton to be affixed this 19th day of May, 2015. Okay, the next item is the bid award for Neighborhood Concrete Number 1. Could we have the Public Works Director's report?
Yes, Your Honor. At the March 3rd, 2015 City Council meeting, staff presented 3 force recommended concrete improvement projects and received approval from the council to develop plans and advertise these projects for bid. Staff put together plans and specifications for the Broadway Monroe Neighborhood Concrete Project. The project was advertised for bid on April 22nd and 29th, 2015. 7 contractors and suppliers signed up and downloaded bid packages. Bids were received and opened on May 13th, 2015 with the following results. 71 Construction of Riverton, Wyoming at $428,071, and Jerry Bornhoff Construction of Riverton, Wyoming at $485,318. Staff reviewed the bid results to assure that the bids were responsive, and as a result, staff recommends that the City Council award the bid to 71 Construction Incorporated in the amount of $428,071. This will be coming out of the 1% fund account, and currently the fund has approximately $2,632,995. Thank you.
The chair would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we approve 71 Construction Incorporated from Riverton, Wyoming for $428,071 for the Broadway Monroe neighborhood.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Larson.
What do we have for a time limit on this bid with 71 Construction?
Your Honor, that's going to be a 60-day contract, I believe, and that will start the moment we give them the notice to proceed. So following this meeting, we'll give them a notice of award that will allow them time to then procure their bonds and execute the contract. And once we have all those documents in place, we will issue a notice to proceed, and the contract time will start at that moment.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Ms. Fabian.
have the areas to be replaced been marked for the contractor?
Your Honor, they have been marked, and the rain is helping to wash away those marks currently.
Will they be remarked?
They will be remarked, and staff has also made sure that the plans reflect exactly where the concrete is to be removed, and will only change per a change order approved by the council.
Thank you.
And this is one of 3 concrete projects, is that correct?
Your Honor, that is correct. There were 3 neighborhood concrete projects proposed to the council.
Okay, and so in future meetings, we'll see a couple more bids.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Any additional discussion, concerns? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye, motion passes. Bid award, Big Bend Improvements, Public Works Director's Report. And you were muddy, so you must have been out there. Did we flood anybody? Did anybody get flooded out today, or?
Your Honor, fortunately, no. We came fairly close, but no, we didn't flood anybody.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. As you're all aware, WYDOT reconstructed South Federal Boulevard. As part of that reconstruction project, the stormwater system shared by WYDOT and the City of Riverton needed to be upgraded. As part of that upgrade, an outlet structure was improved from South Federal and tied into the Big Bend drainage system, moving east of Federal Boulevard. This project allows us to improve the Big Bend system. It involves the replacement of several structures and also the construction of a detention pond. Property for the detention pond has already been purchased. It was purchased this fiscal year, and this project will be completed next fiscal year. Staff put together plans through the work of Apex Surveying, and we're able to advertise this project for bid on April 19th and 26th, 2015. 7 contractors and suppliers signed up and downloaded bid packages. Bids were received and opened on May 13th, 2015 with the following results. LCI Trucking and Construction of Pavilion, Wyoming at $530,832. Jerry Bornhoff Construction of Riverton, Wyoming at $562,461. High Country Construction of Lander, Wyoming, $563,356.50. And 71 Construction of Riverton, Wyoming at $677,271. Staff reviewed the bids that were received and determined that LCI Trucking, their bid was not responsive. Unfortunately, they did not sign their bid, nor did they acknowledge the addenda, and as a result, we have to throw that out. Therefore, staff recommends the City Council award the bid to the second lowest provider, which was Jerry Bornhoff Construction, in the amount of $562,461. The engineer's estimate for the project was just under $460,000. Staff budgeted $500,000 to cover any unforeseen costs for the project. Jerry Bornhoff Construction, as you're able to add, is $62,461 over our current budgeted amount. In order to address this bid coming in over budget and all the other bids coming in over budget, the city can explore the following options. Staff can review the project and reduce its scope of work in order to match existing budget constraints. Staff could work with the contractor to expedite construction and complete some this current fiscal year. However, we're already mid-May, and in order to get a project started and receive a pay application this fiscal year does not seem likely. The third option is the City Council could approve the use of general fund reserves in order to cover the cost for the overage. Fourth option is the council could choose to reject all bids and direct staff to bid the project at a later date. When considering the above listed options, it is recommended that the City Council direct staff to evaluate the project's scope and develop ways to reduce bid items in order to bring the project within budget parameters. And in fact, I was able to meet with Jerry Bornhoff this morning, and I believe we've come to a resolution of how we can reduce the project size and bring this project in with our budgeted amount. This involves the city participating in some of the work, and what we will do is propose that we remove from the bid items the clearing and grubbing bid item for the total amount of $82,800. This is work that our city crews can do. It'll take us some time, but we can coordinate that and also work with the contractor to make sure that we're not in their way. In removing this item, this will then bring the total amount for Jerry Bornhoff Construction to roughly $482,000. This brings us within our budgeted parameters and will allow us to complete the project without going into reserves or looking at other options. Therefore, again, staff recommends that we award this project to Jerry Bornhoff Construction in the amount of $562,461. Once the award is given, we can then execute a change order to remove that bid item to reduce the project amount to that $482,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fabian,
Can I ask a question prior to?
motion?
So the question I have for you is, were those amounts specified in the original bid, or was that something that came up when you were discussing it after the fact, or how did you know what the amount was for the scrubbing and whatever.
Your Honor, those were totals we received after the bids were opened. We have a bid tabulation showing each of the contractors' bids for each line item. Mr. Bornhoff's bid for that line item represented that 82,000 and change, if I remember right.
Did you look at removing that from the other bidders and making sure that that didn't make them the low bidder?
Your Honor, no, we have not.
Thank you.
I'd entertain a motion.
Your Honor,
Go ahead.
I would move to table this item until city staff looks at all the bids and determines by removing that line item who is the low bidder.
Is there a second? No second.
No,
Okay, so that dies for a second. I'm still looking for a motion that somebody will second.
Your Honor, I would move to reject all bids and rebid the project with the change.
It's been moved by Mr. Fabian to reject all bids and rebid the project with the change. Well, I'm not getting a second on that either, but you're the only guy making motions, so,
Your Honor,
Mr. Larson.
move that Big Bend Ditch Improvement Project be awarded to Jerry Bornhoff with the foreknowledge that the bid of $562,461 would be adjusted to be approximate $480,000, with the city doing the removal of brush as required by our city director there.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Now is there discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
my concern is that, so just because Mr. Bornhoff's bid for that line item was 82,000 doesn't mean it was equivalent to all the other bidders, and therefore removing that line item does not necessarily mean he is still the low bidder. If they had bid this with that line item as an option, perhaps a different bidder would be the low bidder, and that option would be, he might have bid that option for 50,000 more than the next guy bid that option. By removing it, it could change the low bidder.
Your Honor.
Go ahead, Mr. Larson.
Jerry Bornhoff was $562,000. High Country Construction was $563,000, and 71 Construction was $677,000. It appears that the budgeting of $500,000 was the low estimate, and all received. Did they not all receive the appropriate bid items?
Your Honor, each contractor received the same information, the bid package, the addenda, so they all had the same information going into the bid. Correct.
Okay. So I don't see that Jerry Bornhoff had a particular advantage over High Country or 71 Construction. That's just the luck of the draw. Obviously, LCI Trucking and Construction has a real bone to pick with his project supervisor for not signing the appropriate papers. But we still need to get a project going on this. My watch says it's May, that's 5th month, and we're trying to get this project completed. I think we need to quit. $480,000 is under budget, isn't it?
The engineer's estimate was $460,000. We budgeted over that in an attempt to cover any unforeseen costs. We just missed it. Bids came in high, and now we're addressing that. When those contractors receive the bid documents, there are clauses in the bid documents saying that the city, pursuant to budget restraints and pursuant to its best interest, can remove bid items, line items, and reduce its scope of work. And that's really what we're proposing. We do need to do this project, as evidenced by this recent rainstorms, plural, that we've received, which is a blessing. It helps our treatment plants and it helps our water around the region. But right now that system is undersized in many locations, causing a backlog of water that we want to address as soon as possible. As
Mr.
far as,
Butterfield?
oh, yes.
Do we have any idea of the cost that the city will incur by using its own manpower versus using Bornhoff's? Will that reduce our ability to provide services anywhere to someone else?
Your Honor, we've looked at that throughout today. What it will involve most likely is us renting a piece of equipment that will allow us to grub and clean that ditch. Initial cost for that is about $6,500. We already own the trucks. We already own an area of land that we can dispose of all that grubbed material. And that'll produce a savings for us as a city. So what we're looking at right now for costs for us to do this outside of our regular labor would be the rental of equipment.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Ms. Bailey?
I think also in support of Mr. Larson's motion, I think it would be extremely unfair to go back and rebid this because all of the bidders sort of have shown their cards and put their prices out there. And so if you had to rebid this, it would be a lot less fair than the first bid is, so.
Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I don't disagree on the rebidding option. I guess when you have two bids separated by $900 and you decide to remove a single line item, it's very easy for the second place bidder to then overtake the first place bidder. It's like if I'm going to replace an engine and a transmission and I say I'll do both of them for $3,000 and the guy down the street says he'll do them for $2,900. But then you decide to just do the engine and my engine price was lower than his engine price, you're no longer getting the low bid. That's my concern. And we have all the information to determine that. I'm just not sure why we don't do it.
Your Honor,
Go ahead.
we have to award based off of the prices that we receive and then the change order like I proposed to remove the line item. Maybe to ease Councilman Fabian's mind, I can look at this bid tab right now and confirm that the other bidders would still be higher than Mr. Bornhoff by.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Council committee reports and council members roundtable. Mr. Bailey? Did I?
Yeah, we've
What
got.
what did I miss?
You got the bare knuckle fights.
No,
we did that on the consent reserve items.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the reserve. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I jumped right over the top of that. I thought we were clear to the bottom. I made my notes in the wrong place. Okay, resolution number 1315, assign revenue guarantee funds for the Riverton Regional Airport City Clerk's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor, I won't take that personal. This is a resolution that deals with the issue of assigning general fund reserves to the airport revenue guarantee. And I know you've heard a lot about the revenue guarantee, so I won't go into a lot of items about it. But as you recall, you passed a resolution in January that addressed supporting the Fremont Air Service Task Force. And part of that includes the potential minimum reserve guarantee funds. So I believe that City Administrator Weaver at the work session held a week ago asked if you would be interested in setting those reserve funds aside, and you indicated to him that you would. So this is a resolution that I wrote to comply with that idea. And this is simply, YDOT Aeronautics has set aside $1.5 million. The amount of 2.1 has been suggested as a revenue guarantee amount. We are hopeful that Lander and the county will also contribute monies, as well as businesses and other individuals that would help with the air service to the Riverton Regional Airport. So this is simply a resolution identifying that, the earmarking of those funds. If you wonder why we use the term assign, is because statutorily and also with GASB, Governmental Accounting Standards Board, we can only use certain terms when earmarking funds, and the proper term in this resolution is assigning funds, which means there is no statutory requirement linked to that, no contract linked to that, and you're just simply setting those amounts aside. So, would you like me to read the resolution now, Mayor?
Right, go for it.
Thank you. Resolution number 1315, a resolution providing for the earmark of general fund monies for the specific purpose of setting aside funds for a revenue guarantee to assist with providing reliable air service at the Riverton Regional Airport for air travelers within the city of Riverton and Fremont County.
The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of resolution number 1315.
Your Honor,
Mr. Fabian.
I would move to approve Resolution 1315.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. And is there any discussion?
Sure. I guess my concern, my heartburn with this resolution is that, I'll go back over it once again, that over the years, and city staff has made me smart since I became a council member, that no small airport is a money-making entity. I understand that. But it seems like over the years that only the citizens of Riverton have been, quote, anyone with skin in the game, I'll use that term, to keep this airport up and running and usable for the entire county. This year alone, City of Riverton's putting over $400,000 into the airport. And it doesn't appear to me like the county or the other cities are taking that into account and still expecting Riverton to kick in an additional $200,000 in this subsidy guarantee. And that truly bothers me. We've heard from citizen this evening that complained about the city of Riverton not having enough money to maintain its streets. We heard last year from a group of ladies that talked about outdated playground equipment and wanting additional playground equipment, newer playground equipment for their children. That again, we're not gonna have, because we're gonna use an additional $200,000 for almost a total this year of $500,000 or better for that airport. And again, that concerns me to think that the county expects the city of Riverton to carry that much of a burden for an entity that is used by the entire county. So I truly think that is unfair to be asking that of the citizens of Riverton.
Thank you. Anybody else? It's my understanding that tonight at the city council meeting in Lander, that the FAST committee is meeting with the city council over there. And so then Mayor McComey said that he would call me and tell me how much the city of Lander was going to put in.
You know, sir, I'll make another comment about the FAST committee is that, again, I mean, all I hear is how much, the businesses, quote, need that commercial airline. But that FAST committee went out, and as far as my understanding, talking to Mr. Weaver, is that they haven't raised a dime from the other businesses that, quote, need that airline so much. So again, you hear on one hand that they can't live without it, but yet they're not willing to put a dime towards it. Again, it comes back down to, for the citizens of Riverton to once again foot the bill to keep the airport up and running, and now also to try to get an airline in.
Mr. Larson.
Last year I flew to Key West, Florida, and on my return flight from Houston to Denver to Casper, the entire flight was full of Riverton only people to Casper, Wyoming. It was the Special Olympics and and my family, And we filled the whole plane, and it was for Riverton and Riverton only. Now, I know that I agree that's a large sum of money to take away from playgrounds and from baseball fields and for, I mean, God knows we could use the money everywhere else just as well, roads, etc. But nobody in his right mind should be required to drive to Casper to get on a flight. Nobody should be required to drive to Salt Lake City to get on an airplane or to Denver. I mean, the 2 hours over and the 2 hours back, and I realize the price of tickets and I realize all the other things, but the fact still remains that we have a responsibility to make our town better and easier for commerce. Thank you.
Your Honor,
Mr. Fabian?
I think it's equally important to remember that this is being set aside. It is not being spent right now. It is being set aside, and the whole point is that other communities need to come to the table with their part of it, or it's not going to happen. And you know, it's not like we are guaranteeing this money right now. And the other point that should be made is that it is a revenue guarantee, which means that that amount of money may or may not actually be spent depending on the emplanements that end up happening. And so yes, I guess there is a scenario out there where we end up spending all 200,000, but in hearing from the other towns that have put this in place, that isn't what they experienced. And in all truth, if the county and the city of Lander aren't willing to come to the table, this money is going to be sitting in reserves and can be used for roads or playgrounds or whatever else we choose to do with it. Thank you.
Your Honor?
Mr. Bailey?
Again, I think this revenue guarantee is something that the airport needs for us to be able to get reliable air service into here. And I would reflect the same opinion as Mr. Larson regarding every time that I have had to drive to Casper to get on a plane, a large portion of the people getting on those planes I know from Fremont County. And so again, that there's a lot of economic activity that is getting moved to Casper that could be here in Fremont County. They've done, again, we've seen a couple of different studies regarding the economic input of the airport into the Fremont County economy, and I think it's huge, and I would support this, and I hope the other communities in the county support this, and I hope the other business leaders in the county stand up and support this, and I think we will find that they will. Again, it was very disappointing to me to see our report we got a couple of weeks ago showing that basically we just have one flight coming into Riverton now, which is just almost like not having any because people just start leaving and it's going to be hard to get them back. And so we're in a position to where we don't have a lot of choice in that matter. This last week, and I was going to save this for my report, but this is probably the appropriate time. Last week I was in Washington, D.C. for a petroleum marketers meeting. We did get to meet with our congressional delegation. That's one of the things I did bring up to them to see if there was any way they could help us with this whole pilot hour regulations that's really the root of the entire problem that we are running into. This is not an uncommon problem. Every person that I talked to that was from a smaller rural community was having similar issues with these pilot shortages and that kind of stuff. So I think we've got to go there to get this problem solved as much as we're going to be able to solve it.
Mr. Canan?
Again, sir, my concern is not that we need a guarantee, that we need this subsidy. My concern is that I believe that the county is not taking into consideration the money that Riverton puts into that airport every year and will continue to put into it, as our portion of that subsidy. I mean, let's be honest, if you get an airline in there, we're already talking that Riverton is going to have to expand that terminal. They're bringing in the larger fire truck. Riverton is going to wind up having to build a bigger garage to house that. So again, even in addition to the $200,000 going into the revenue guarantee, you're talking additional monies from Riverton to expand the terminal, improve the emergency services up there. And I truly think that should be taken into consideration as part or all of our portion of that guarantee.
Ms. Bollinger, could you, okay, so we're going to earmark this money. All right, so say, and I'm completely ignorant of the process of the revenue guarantee. I think that is something that is yet to be determined. Okay, but at some point in time, those funds will wind up in an escrow account managed by one of the entities involved. Fremont County has offered to do that. So how do we take this $200,000 that we have earmarked and move that to that escrow account?
Thank you for asking that question, Mayor. This is what I have in mind. We haven't done this in my 8.5 years of being here. We have not earmarked any funds as far as specifically putting those funds in a separate place. This is what I'd like to do with this resolution if it's passed, and the next one if it's passed, is go out for bids on CDs, short term, because we don't know about the revenue guarantee. Go out for bids, check with Wyoming Government Investment Fund, which is we can invest in, check WildStar, check local banks, bid it out and do a short term money market, short term CD, something where we can get more money for that, but actually move those funds. So it's out of our line of sight, right? Because if we see it there, we'll spend it. It's kind of like my checking account that my husband sees. If I see it there, I spend it. If I don't see it and it's a different savings account, it's safe. That's what we would like to do with these funds. We haven't had the ability in the last 3 or 4 years to really go out for bids or do anything with our money because of the amount of capital projects we've had. So this is going to be a new experience for us, and we'd like to give it a try and just actually move that money until the task force can set up an escrow account, and then move it into that escrow account along with the other contributing members if that's what they decide to do. Did that answer your question, Mayor?
Kinda.
Okay.
So we don't need to budget for that? That wouldn't be it, because we're really not, at this point, we're really not spending the money.
No, sir, we are not.
Okay. We've got a motion, right? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Mayor votes aye, motion passes. Okay, resolution number 1316, assign funds for the North Federal Boulevard Stormwater Project. City Clerk's report.
Yes, Your Honor. Again, this is the same type of resolution that we just reviewed previously. This is assigning funds for the North Federal Boulevard Stormwater Project. And Kyle, Mr. Butterfield, is probably a little bit more experienced in this topic. I just simply wrote the resolution and words come easily to me. So this is simply setting aside funds, which again, we haven't done in my experience here with the city. I'm excited about this mainly because we do have our eye on the ball with this project. We know it's going to happen. We know we have to contribute $2 to $3 million. Those are the numbers we've been told about to this project for stormwater infrastructure. So what I asked Mr. Weaver to do was let's really set that money aside. Let's really look ahead and say, okay, we're going to put a certain amount of money in a savings account of some kind and set it aside for this project, and then it's not such a big exposure to our cash when that project really does happen in 2017. So this resolution is about assigning $200,000. And what I would like to do is approach the council every quarter and look at our reserves, look at our cash on hand, and maybe make recommendations to keep moving money towards that project.
So we're doing $200,000?
Yes, Your Honor.
Got it. See it. I finally found it on the resolution. All right, thank you.
Would you like me to read the resolution?
Please do.
Resolution number 1316, a resolution providing for the earmark of general fund monies for the specific purpose of setting aside funds for the North Federal Stormwater Project in collaboration with the Wyoming Department of Transportation.
And the chair would entertain a motion.
Your Honor,
Mr. Larson.
I'd move that Resolution 1316, a sign of general funds reserves for the North Federal Stormwater Project of $200,000 be moved for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor.
Mr. Bailey?
My question would be, I would assume that we're going to look for some matching funds grants to help us with our portion of this project?
Your Honor, that is correct. We're already planning on requesting countywide consensus funds for this purpose, and there are also some other options that we're exploring as well that we know are available.
Your Honor.
Mr. Larson?
The committee that I'm on, we felt that we had been behind the ball on several projects, and we fear the unknown of this North Federal project, and we feel that with money reserves set aside, that it'll be easier for us to get matching funds or grants or whatever, because it will show that we have been diligent in looking at the future, and that's why we proposed it to do it this way, because there's just a big knot in our guts on this project, because we really don't know what the cost will be. We can estimate $2 to $3 million, but we don't know.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Mayor votes aye. Motion passes. Now, council committee reports. Mr. Bailey.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Again, I already sort of talked about the airport situation, which was very disconcerting to me, and I think this is going to take a lot of work by everybody in the county to get through this. And again, when I was in Washington, I think our congressional delegation was pretty aware of the situation, and they're working on it. Just, again, I think it's frustrating to me to see how the federal government sort of creates these problems and then throws them out to us to have to figure out. And, you know, they're more than willing to improve our airport, which is very nice that they have FAA funds to do that. But then on the other hand, they take away the ability for us to fly planes in here by not allowing pilots to operate the way that they need to. So that's a little troubling, I guess. And then I guess I just like everybody to know, I think we're making great progress on our streets, and I know we are always going to have problems, and we are working on those. So I think our Force Committee and the 1% Fund is doing exactly what the citizens voted it in for, which is to do those repairs. The city's contributing, you know, its own manpower and labor and using the Durapatcher and fixing the potholes as we see. So I would just encourage the public to get a hold of us as the city and make sure we're aware of these certain areas maybe that we're missing and we probably know about. But, you know, I think all we can do is work toward improving. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of that. And of course, we all know about North Federal, and it's in the plan to be repaired. And so that's probably the biggest one that I see in the city is that North Federal is falling apart quickly, and hopefully they don't put that off like they have in the past and get it done in 2017 like they planned. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Canan?
Sir, just a quick reminder, I guess, Memorial Day is the 25th. So I'd like to thank our vets, and especially those that paid the ultimate sacrifice. The veterans will be up at Riverton Cemetery on the 23rd, Saturday at 9 o'clock, putting flags up. And then they'll have a memorial service the 25th at 10 o'clock for anybody that'd like to attend or help out with the flags. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Fabian?
Thank you. The Parks and Trails Master Plan Committee has had a meeting since I last talked to the council. However, I had to miss it. They rescheduled the original meeting and had a conference call with the City of Buffalo's engineer where we discussed potentially using reject sand for our paths and trails. And I think that may be a viable option moving forward. I'm sure when the master plan comes together, they'll have some recommendations on that. Kyle, did you make that last actual meeting? You did. So maybe Kyle could give us an update on that. The other thing that I would like to just say is thank you to the community for the support. My wife and another lady here in town ran a community hair fair to do donations for Pantene Beautiful Lengths and Wigs for Kids for people who have medical hair loss, and the community responded in such a huge way. I don't have exact numbers, but they had, by the end of it, 2 grocery bags stuffed to the point that they were bursting of cut ponytails from people around this county. So thank you very much. Also, financial donations that came in. So just a big thank you to the community. We really have a very generous and wonderful community. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez?
Yes, Your Honor, last week sometime we give the skateboarders a $10,000 check because they had private donations of a little over $11,000 and the rec board pledged $10,000 to them. So we signed a check to them. So evidently they've reached their goal. So the park board, the skateboard park will be getting ready to start. And we won't have another rec board meeting until June 8th. And I won't be able to attend the pause meeting tomorrow night. The commitment for her granddaughter. That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Larson?
Your Honor, attended the solid waste meeting in Lander on Monday, and they're concerned and trying to, which surprised me, reduce costs. The one example that I bring to you is interesting. They had a bid for a architect to remodel their facility over there for $50,000, and they turned that down, and they can do the remodel themselves for $35,000. But the interesting thing is they're having difficulty with the tribes on collecting on tribal lands between eastern and the northern Arapahoes. Can't get them, so they're threatening to take their garbage somewhere else at $80 a ton, which is $200,000 a year somewhere else. And our attorney stated that they couldn't violate the contract because there was 3 parties involved in the contract and 2 of them are agreeable, but the 3rd wasn't. So it's an interesting situation. Thank you.
Ms. Gibbon?
I got to attend the Business Alliance meeting on May 29th. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it. They're trying to bring the cities of Fremont County together and have them communicate better. Idea Inc. is going to be like a big part of that. They're really enthusiastic about it, trying to set one person aside so that they can all talk monthly. They had a wonderful turnout. We did a bunch of team building activities. It was fun.
Good. Good. We have a city administrator's report. I don't see a city administrator, but you must be acting, huh?
Mayor,
Yes.
you've always assumed I've been acting. I do have two very small announcements.
Okay.
One is that the city offices will be closed Monday in observance of Memorial Day. So if the phone doesn't get answered, that's a respectful way to observe. And the next meeting is June 2nd. We won't have a meeting next week, be June 2nd, and we're excited for that because it's a public hearing for the budget for fiscal year 15-16. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Butterfield, could you report on that Trails Committee, that phone call?
Your Honor, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
The conversation went well, and it is an exploration of what the city of Buffalo does currently. They have removed all of their asphalt trails and put down, as Councilman Fabian mentioned, a reject sand material that comes out of their wide-out pits in that region. We have selected a test strip area where we can remove some of our asphalt trail and put down some of the reject sand in our area and see if it holds together as well as what Buffalo's reject sand does. And so we're going to look forward to that in the summertime. Through the coordination of the committee, we're going to use some labor from city staff, remove an asphalt trail and put it down and see how well it holds up. If it's a great product, we'll look at other areas and move forward. The city of Buffalo, I've spoken with their public works director twice, and he absolutely loves the material. He loves the long-term maintenance of it, and it's pretty well sold. And so we're going to give it a shot and see if we can make it work here. If not, we'll move on and look at other options.
Thank you. So that really holds a promise for some, for a lot of trails in places where right now we don't have anything.
Your Honor,
Mr. Fabian?
do you remember what the dollar figure was? How much they said? Was it 30 cents on the dollar or something like that? The difference in the cost?
I remember it was cheap.
Yeah, it was
I'd have to look for that number, but it was very inexpensive, especially when we look at maintaining the current asphalt trails and getting out and crack sealing and repairing it. It was cheap.
Yeah, something that I read there was with what what I saw was like $1,000 a mile. Okay, so instead of $100,000 a mile for asphalt, so that's big difference. And then from the standpoint of repair, or anything, pretty easy to keep up. And I had just an experiment. I had a driveway that was reject sand that held up really well. So drove my car on it all the time. Of course, that was a high speed, but that's probably comparable to what you would expect with bicycles and walkers and that type of thing. But ought to work pretty easy. So, okay. So mayor's comments. Well, I'm concerned about the air service for Riverton. I really hope that we can get something solved with that will keep Riverton's airport viable. It seems to me that our setting aside $200,000 is kind of a public declaration of commitment to that, and I hope that will serve to empower or strengthen the other people in the county that need to contribute to this project so that they'll start to move in that direction. My concern is that we'll get to some point in November or December when some airline says, yeah, we'll come if there's that money, and then everybody will look at each other and say, well, gee, we didn't budget for that. We didn't plan on that. And so we don't have any wiggle room in our budget to take care of it, and then they'll dump it back at us. And I'm really hopeful that right now, over the next couple of weeks, as these entities are all working on their budgets, that we can keep this kind of in the forefront, and so we'll get some commitment from folks to try to make this work. I don't disagree with Mr. Canan's concerns at all, but I think that there's a lot of people that need to step up and take a look at it and put some money into the deal. But at the same time, it's if the city of Riverton looks at it, it's having an airport, a commercial airport in Riverton, is a boon to Riverton, and the other communities don't profit from. So that's one thing I'm really concerned about. So, like I say, tonight the city of Lander is meeting on that particular issue, and I hope that works out well for them. The county commission is mulling over in their minds a $150,000 contribution to the airport operations, but they're stuck on the idea of the revenue, but they're working on it, thinking about it. Steph Kessler was, when she was on the commission, was quite committed to it, and so she's not there anymore.
You offer to share our revenue with them and our losses?
So the problem, the county looks at that and they say, well, we're putting something into the airport. But, the city of Lander's got an airport, which is a general aviation airport, doesn't have commercial service there, but they have to take money out of their general fund to support their airport. And Du Bois has an airport, which is not a commercial airport, but the city of Du Bois has to take money out of their general fund to support their airport. And even Shoshone has an airport that they have to take money out of their general fund to support. So they look at it from the other side of things, that they all have airports that they have to support, and just kind of gloss over the idea that the commercial airport that we have is providing them with considerable service. So I hope we can reach some kind of an agreement that's equitable. Our alternative really is to drive to Casper, and maybe, and I don't know, if you sit down and think of what that drive costs, the state rate for transportation is like 55 cents a mile. So that's 110 miles to the airport. So that's $55 one way. That's probably what a bus ticket would cost. You'd be lucky if you could get a bus ride, from Riverton to Casper and back for $50. So that adds $50, $60, $70 onto the price of a ticket. I think that Riverton really prospers because we have an airport. So we need to do whatever we can to try to keep that functional. I don't think there's anything else to talk about. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.